Lesson 31, using rates, ratios, and proportions. First, let's look at some vocabulary words. What's a ratio? A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. So you're just comparing two items. A rate is a ratio that compares quantities measured in different units. And then a unit rate is just the rate whose denominator is 1. So an example would have been 1 foot equals 12 inches. And then we have proportion, an equation that shows two ratios that are equal to each other. So if I said 4/8 is proportional to 1/2, they mean they equal the same thing. So let's look at an example. Which is the better buy? 5 cans of tuna for $4.95 or 6 cans for $5.75. So how are we going to solve this, finding the unit rates? We want to find the cost per item. So the cost per can. And so you take the total cost. So let's do the first one. So I'm going to take the $4.95 and I'm going to divide it by how many cans I'm purchasing. I'm purchasing 5 of them. I want to find out what is the cost per can at that price. So if I do $4.95 divided by 5, that would give me 99 cents per can. Now if I do the other one, I have $5.75, but I'm purchasing 6 cans. So 5.75 divided by 6, that would give us about 96 cents per can. So which one is the better purchase per can? The better price would be 6 cans for $5.75 because you're getting more for a little bit cheaper price per can. Next one, which is the better buy? 10 bananas for $1.35 or 8 bananas for $1.20? Again, we do set up our proportions for our unit ratios. So I have $1.35 over 10 bananas. So 1.35 divided by 10 would be roughly 13 cents, or if you round it up to the nearest cent, it would be 14 cents. And the other one, you would have $1.20 divided by 8 bananas would be roughly 15 cents. So which one is a better buy? Well, you get more bananas for a cheaper price, so 10 for $1.35 is the better buy. Which is the better buy? 8 boxes for $4.96 or 5 boxes for $3.25. So $4.96 divided by 8 would give you 62 cents per box. And then you have $3.25 and you're purchasing 5 boxes. So 3.25 divided by 5 would give you 65 cents. So the better purchase would be the 8 boxes for $4.96. So next time you go to the store and you see the deals, you can find out which is the better price per item that you have, and that can help you decide which item to buy or how much to buy. Converting rates. So when we are converting rates, you should use unit ratios that cancel out the units that you don't need. We've done a lesson earlier working with that, so this should be a little bit of a review, but there's more than one unit of measurement. So here it says a bus driver drives at 30 miles per hour. What is the rate of the bus in miles per minute? So I'm going to set my proportions. So 30 miles per just means my division, 1 hour. And I need to go to miles per minute. So I don't want my hours there. So I need to multiply by 1 hour over 60 minutes. And I chose that one because I need minutes on the bottom. And I know the unit ratio is 1 hour is the same as 60 minutes. So now if I multiply, my hours cancel out because they're opposite. That's what we want. They divide each other out, which just means 1. So when I multiply straight across, I get 30 miles over 60 minutes. But I can reduce that, and I should reduce it. 30 is half of 60. So you would have 0.5 miles per minute. Or you could have just kept it as 1 mile over 2 minutes. Or you could write it as half mile per minute. Those are different ways you can write the answer. Next problem. An engineer opens a valve that drains 60 gallons of water per minute from a tank. How many quarts were drained per second? So I start with 60 quarts of water per minute. So 1 minute. I need to go to quarts per second. So I need to use 1 minute over 60 seconds because that's my unit ratio. And now I can simplify here. My minutes cancel. Now my answer is going to be quarts over seconds, which is what I want. 60 quarts over 60 seconds, which would reduce to 1 quart per second. A car travels at 60 miles per hour. How many miles per minute is this? So 60 miles per 1 hour. I need to go miles per minute. So 1 hour over 60 minutes. My hours cancel out. I'm left with 60 miles over 60 seconds. Or not seconds, 60 minutes. That would be 1 mile per minute. So just setting up the unit ratios makes it a lot easier so you know that you have the right answer and right labels in your answer. Next one, a chemist raised the temperature of a liquid 45 degrees in 1 minute. So 45 degrees in 1 minute. What is this amount in degrees Fahrenheit per second? So I need to get rid of my minutes. So 1 minute equals 60 seconds. So now my minutes cancel out and I'm left with 45 degrees Fahrenheit over 60 seconds. I can reduce, I can divide by 15. 45 divided by 15 would give us 3 degrees Fahrenheit over 60 divided by 15 would give us 4. So this would be 3 degrees over 4 seconds. If you were to write that another way, that would be 3/4 degrees Fahrenheit per second. So we can write this one as 3/4 degrees Fahrenheit per second. Jamie typed 20 pages of a document in 2 hours. How many pages did she type in 1 minute? So 20 pages in 2 hours. We want to go, what is it in 1 minute? So 1 hour is the same as 60 minutes. My hours cancel out. I'm left with 20 pages over 120 minutes. Let's simplify that. I can divide this by 20. So 20 over 20, which would give us 1/6 page per minute. Next, cross product property. Cross product property means you take two proportions or two ratios that are proportional and you find the missing one by cross multiplying and dividing. So cross multiply, x times 3 is 3x. When you have the equal sign, put your equal sign in the middle and cross multiply the other direction. 15 times 2 is 30. So you can only use the cross products method if you have an equal sign in between. Now I just solved for x. Divide by 3 on both sides. So I'm using the property of equality, the golden rule of algebra. So x would have to equal 10. Next one, cross multiply. 5 times 16 would give us 80 equals, here I got to distribute the 10. 10n plus 20. Now I can get my n by itself, so 10n by itself, so I'm going to subtract 20, just using the golden rule of algebra again. So 10n equals 60. To get n by itself, divide by 10, n would have to equal 6. And the next one, x minus 1, remember this is all together, so I cross multiply, so 6 times x is 6x, 6 times 1 is 6, or equal sign, multiply the other direction, you get 12, get x, 6x by itself, add 6 to both sides, you get 6x equaling 18, x by itself divided by 6, x would have to equal 3. Next side. Here I'm going to do another way. Instead of the cross multiplication, I know I can multiply, or I can take 4 times 6 to give me 24. So that means I can take 3 times 6, and that will give me my x, which x would have to equal 18. That's just another method. Otherwise, if you cross multiply, you would get 4x equaling 3 times 24. Gives you 72. Divide by 4 on both sides. X would equal 18. So those are two different methods of you doing that. Let's look at another one. X plus 1 over 15. So I'm going to cross multiply. 3x plus 30 equals 15 times 8. Gives us 120. To get 3x by itself, I'm going to subtract 30. End up with 3x equaling 90. The x by itself, divided by 3. X would equal 30. And this next one, I'm going to use a shorter one because I know 7 and 21 work. 7 times 3 gives us 21. I know I can multiply by 3. I would have to multiply c by 3 to get me 3. So c would have to be 1. And if I want to prove it, I can cross multiply. It gives me 21c equals 21. Get c by itself, divide by 21. C equals 1. Excellent. The ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 2. The class has 25 students in all. How many boys are in class? How many girls are in class? So how are we going to solve it? We need to use the numbers from the ratio. So the ratio of boys to girls is 3. And for the total in the group, I take the total here. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So 3 out of the 5 is boys. Multiplied by the number of boys. We don't know the number of boys, so I'm going to use B for boys, but there are 25 students total. And I'm going to use the simplified form of this because I know 5 and 25 work. So 5 times 5 gives me 25. That means 3 times 5 will give me boys, which will give me 15. And then I can take my 25 total students, subtract the boys, and that will give me the number of girls. So the number of girls would be 10 girls. The number of boys is 15. Next one. The ratio of pencils to erasers is 1 to 2. There are 24 pencils and erasers in all. How many pencils and erasers are there? We're going to use the same steps as we did last time, but instead of boys here, we're going to use pencils. So the ratio of pencils to erasers is 1 to 2. So pencils 1. The ratio 1 to 2, that means 1 out of 3 is pencils. And there are 24 pencils and erasers, so total, that's our bottom, 24. We want to find out how many pencils there are. We're going to use a simplified form because 3 and 24 work. 3 times 8 is 24. So 1 times 8 gives me P. That would be 8 pencils. If I know there was 24 total, I can subtract the number of pencils, 8, and that would give me 16 erasers. Next one, on the map, Albany to Jamestown measures 12.6 centimeters. So let me put that down here. So Albany to Jamestown is 12.6. Jamestown to Springfield measures 9 centimeters. So Jamestown to Springfield is 9. And Springfield to Albany measures 4.75. What is the actual distance from Albany to Jamestown to Springfield and back to Albany? So going all the way around, actual distance. So how are we going to solve it? The total number of centimeters. So let's find the total number of centimeters there are. So 12.6 plus 9 plus 4.75 gives us 26.35 centimeters. The total distance in kilometers. We don't know the total distance in kilometers, so I'm just going to put an X here, kilometers. But we know that the ratio is 1 centimeter over 25 kilometers. So we can cross multiply and divide, but since we're really going to be dividing by 1, let's just do 26.35 times 25, and that will give us a kilometer, or X equaling 658.75 kilometers. All I do is cross multiply and divide. So that would be our answer. Next one. Scale on a map is equal to the ratio 1 centimeter to 30 kilometers. If a distance on the map is 4.5 centimeters, what is the actual distance? So 4.5 centimeters. Distance in kilometer, we don't know. But the ratio is 1 centimeter over 30 kilometers. So we can cross multiply and divide. So cross multiply, then divide. So I have 4.5 times 30, which will give us 135 kilometers, the actual distance. Next one, the ratio of blue chips to red chips in a bag is 5 to 7. The bag has 60 chips in all. How many chips are in the bag? How many red chips? So it says blue to red. So that's what we're going to put everything as. So blue to red. So we're going to do blue to total. So blue, there are 5 out of the 12 are red, are blue. But here let's just do something a little bit different. We can do ratio boxes. This might make it a little bit easier to work with. So this is blue, this is red, this is the total. So the blue blue we have 5, we got 7, total of 12, that's our ratio. And then we know that there are, let me get rid of this last column here. We know that there are a total of 60 chips. We need to find out how many blue there are and then how many red. So I know that 5 times 12 gives me 60. So I can multiply everything by 5 to get my color. So 5 times 5 gives me 25 blue. 7 times 5 gives me 35. If I were to add 25 and 35, you would get your 60. So these would be blue chips, this would be red chips. So setting up as a ratio box can also help you solve that. Next one, a map shows a 5.5 inch distance between Orange City and Newtown and a 3.75 inch distance from Newtown to Westville. The scale on a map is 1 inch for every 100 miles. What is the actual distance if you drive from Orange City by Newtown to Westville? So we need to add the total distance, so 5.5 plus 3.75. We have a total distance of 9.25. So 9.25, this is in inches. We need to know what's the total miles. I don't know what the miles is, so I'm just going to put it over X miles. But I know the ratio is 1 inch over 100 miles. So again, I can cross multiply and divide, really divide by 1. I just take the 9.25 times 100, which just really moves the decimal place 2 places. So X would have to be 925 miles. And the last two. Mr. Jackson drove a truck 300 miles in 6 hours. If he drives at a constant speed, how long will it take him to drive 450 miles? Use the formula, rate times time equals distance. So rate times time equals distance. He travels 300 miles in 6 hours. That means our rate would be 50 miles per hour. How long will it take him to drive 45 miles or 450 miles? So he keeps the same pace. So 50 would be our rate, the time we have to find, but he's traveling 450 miles. So I divide by 50 on both sides. The time would have to be 9 hours. That is one way of setting that up. You could have done 30 over 60 is the same as 300 over 6 as 450 over x, and you can solve it that way. Always using the rate times time equals distance works for that one. And the last one, if Jeff walks 4 miles in 48 minutes, how far can he walk in 72 minutes? So 4 miles in 48 minutes is the same as how many miles in 72 minutes? If we cross multiply, 4 times 72 gives us 288 equals 48x. Divide that by 48. X would have to equal 6 miles. That is our lesson on rates, unit ratios, and unit rates.